Don't worry about it.
Hey, welcome back to another exciting episode of YOML, a year of virtual learning. If you are new here, hello. If you are, you know, returning, hello again
Yeah.
and welcome back. So today we're doing 118, book 118. We'll be talking about a traveler's gift. So take it away, Chris.
Yeah. So the book that we're talking about today is it's called The Traveler's Gift. And um, it's the subtitle in this one is The Seven Decisions That'll Determine Personal Success by Andy Andrews. I don't know
Andy,
where I
Andy.
found what's that?
Andy.
Andy. Yeah. I don't know where I found this book. I'm not gonna lie. And I didn't really love it either. But it was interesting. It was okay. Actually, I remember this one I read in Hawaii as well, and it was a pretty short read. So I don't know. I guess I learned some good lessons from it, but I don't know where I came across this book at. To be honest with you, I mean, this is like one of those random weird ones that I'm like, I don't know. But
Mhm.
the book itself is about this it's a fictional book about this guy named David Ponder, and this guy like feels like a his life is failing all around him. He used to have a good job and used to make good money and used to feel important, and now then he lost his job and now he's working like minimum wage, and then his daughter gets sick or gets into an accident, I think, or she gets sick. His daughter becomes ill, and he can't afford to like take care of her because he's not making good money anymore, and he's like just depressed and yada yada yada. And then he gets into a car accident, and he's like, my life sucks, basically. And he's like, everything's going against him. David Ponder is like, hit the skids, and then
Mhm.
all of a sudden he like, finds himself time traveling back into time, and he goes from like he meets a bunch of different famous people, from like Abraham Lincoln to Anne Frank to war, people in like wars that are at critical points in time, and he gets to talk to them, and like he's like there, he like gets transported back in time to like these critical times and events for some famous historical figures, and he gets to ask him questions, and they like know that he's there for whatever weird reason, like they've experienced this before, it's like a thing, and they're like guiding him and answering his questions, and he the moral of the story of this particular book was uh what is it? Like, the traveler's gift will challenge you, inspire you, and give you seven decisions you can employ to determine your own personal success. It's basically about like, you don't have a lot of control over everything, but you can control your choices you make daily, kind of thing. So it's very, I don't know. It doesn't sound probably that great, in general, and it wasn't, honestly, it wasn't that good of a book.
Mhm.
But that said, it did spark a thought. So because it sparked a thought, I wrote about it in my Your Magical Learning Journey. So this is book 118. The reflection title that I got from this one is "The Thin Thread That Leads from You to Hundreds of Thousands of Other Lives." And that was like one of the biggest things that I couldn't stop thinking about after I read this book. It was um, you know, this Your Magical Learning Journey. Like every single day, what we do, it matters. Not just to yourself, but to everybody else, right? We talk about the compound effect. We talk about
Mhm.
karma, with the Hindu religion. We talk about whatever you want to call it. It's that power that of what you do today, and then the downstream ramifications of it, whether or not you meant to cause it or not, right? And that's one of the things that the author talked about a lot in this book was um, you know whether it's present history or future, it's just a great reminder that, like, what you and I are talking about today, what I write about every single day, the stuff that I do with Amelia every single day, like, it may be just for me and it may be just for my own purpose, but that purpose, you know it gets thrown into the world, right? Like, and from where the universe takes it from there, like, who the hell knows? We could wake up, you know tomorrow, and for whatever weird reason, some conversation that we had changed somebody's life, and that changed somebody else's life, and changed somebody else's life, and then you're almost like, man, that's insane. Like, and there's just this tiny little thread of that connects you through these conversations, and just could be potentially hundreds of thousands of people in all different times and places of history, right? Like, I mean, it could be 1,000 years from now, and somebody's like talking about the Chris and True's, nightly conversation they had about, book 118, and their and and it somehow has an impact on their world, and it's pretty incredible. I mean, it's just crazy to think about how interconnected this whole life is, and how, every single day when you live your purpose and you do the things that matter to you and you express your values through actions, while it may just be for you, and that's how it should be, and that's absolutely how it should be. You should never live your values for somebody else, or you should never live somebody else's values if you can't, if you have the choice, right? But at the end of the day, every single time that you do that, it puts a ripple effect of karma, of compound effect, or whatever it may be, out into the world. And someday, somewhere, and some point in time, like, it's gonna matter to somebody else. And it just, it's just something that, it's hard to fathom sometimes, of like how cool that is, and it's like, what we're doing right now could save somebody's life someday. I don't know. I mean, and it's just kind of crazy to think about, right? So that was what this thought, the time traveler, right? Because this guy's going back into time, and he's learning lessons from other people, but then he can go apply it in his own life, and then, it carries on and on and on, right? While my focus is living for two every single day and expressing my values for myself and for my daughter, that's primarily what our goal is. But, I can't forget that living your purpose is also in servitude of other people as well, and that's pretty powerful. So I'll pause there. Love to get your thoughts. The question I asked was, what ways have you learned that your actions have played an unknowing role in a stranger's life? So like things that you don't even know that you did that impacted, somebody else, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon or something like that, where they're like, oh yeah, I know True did this for this person, and then all of a sudden, like, it impacted my life. So that was kind of what came to mind for me. But yeah, I'd love to get your thoughts.
Yeah, so I love the fact that you say, living your core values is in servitude, in service of others. And because while you were talking about your reflection, um the beaver must dam bumper sticker
Right, right.
true aphorism comes to mind, because
Yeah,
we looking from if we looking from our perspective is, we want to do what we want to do when we want to do it and how we want to do it. It sounds very selfish,
right,
very, very selfish, but in itself, the essence of doing the thing that you are meant to do, and doing it because you wanted to do when you want to do it, is actually part of a bigger compound effect, bigger ecosystem. Going back to what I referred to in terms of the beaver must dam, look at California. When you get
right.
rid of the beaver, right? What happens to California? I mean,
Goes through a drought.
it's a
It's all
tragedy,
jacked
right?
up. Yeah,
Exactly. So I mean, to me, that reminds me of, we always should be striving to do the things that we are meant to do. What does that mean? And for me, I don't know what does it mean for everybody, but I can't speak for everybody else either. But for me, it's about, how do I feel when I do these activities, right? Do I feel good about it, or do I feel dreadful? If I
right.
feel good about it, I mean, like, I have the affinity to do it. I have the talent, or the born in abilities that I was just imagine, similar to a beaver. They are born with a pelt that is, waterproof, and it allows them to swim in the water, allow them to build that dam, and they could build dam better than
Right.
any creatures can, and that's what they are meaning to do, and they love it. It's not like they had to; they wanted to,
They just
and
love it. Yeah,
so
yeah.
so a lot of times we are brought up in society where we say, well, we're gonna have to live in a way that is fitting of some image of whatever or whoever that society portrays you. Hey, you should, be like Michael Jordan or Tiger Wood or Jesus or Abraham Lincoln or whatever, right? Why? They are their own thing, right? They have their own unique skills, and that's what they want to do. Yours is different. You can be selfish. Selfish is also service to other. If
Yeah.
you don't do your part,
The right
the
selfish. the
Right,
wrong
right,
there's a bad selfish and a good selfish,
right, right. So
but
you have
yeah,
to do your part, right? And don't think that, thinking that way, it's going to, you know, wreak havoc on the ecosystem. It's actually because you're doing your thing, it allows the ecosystem to continue to run. If you don't, it disrupts that. Just like, the beaver. If you take the beaver and stop it from making dams, then other things you see like California
it's a
is
negative
it's
karma, right?
evidence.
Yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
it's when you don't do meaningful work, like bad stuff happens. Like, and it's the compound
I
effect
mean,
or
if you
karma or
don't do
whatever,
meaningful work,
you know.
it's bad
Right,
stuff already, meaning like you hate your job because that's not what you want to do.
right,
It's not when you want to do it. You hate it because, for example, you love to write, but somebody tells you, hey, Chris, you need to write me a book, and I need you to write it in this way. I need you to write this kind of story, this topic. And you're
right.
gonna make you go insane, even though you
No,
love to write.
yeah,
Same
I
thing
don't.
with you know what I mean. So the thing
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
it's about that. You gotta figure out what it is you like to do, when you want to do it, and how you want to do it. That's if
right,
you can determine that, right? Those three things, it's gonna make you have meaningful work, and whatever you do, it's going to have joy. You're gonna enjoy the work that you do in those three combinations of ingredients.
right,
Because if for example, if you like to work, but you like to work and you can decide when, but you can't decide how, it's not going to work. It's going to be dreadful. So if you take away any of those three ingredients, any one of them, it will not make it meaningful, right? You can't
right,
control, like, okay, you can control the when and the how, but you can't control the what. Well,
right,
it's not going to work either. Same thing is you can control the what and the how, but you can't control the when, right?
right,
If the when say, you have to write this book when your baby's crying, or
right,
or whenever you have something else to do, and it's going to be dreadful. It's stressful. And so to me, those three ingredients plus the I guess the mindset of you are doing the world a favor by doing what you are meant to do,
right.
versus the opposite way, where people say, hey, you're supposed to do what other people tells you to do because that's in service of
Yeah, that's right.
humanity.
That's in service of, you know, go 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 do this job, at so and so company because we need utilities at the like I don't know. Yeah, but you're right. Like if you're just doing marching orders like in the military or whatever, like
Mm-hmm.
look, if you want to serve your country and for whatever reason that fulfills a purpose of protection and other values and
If you want
family
to
and
do it,
like
right? If
do
you
it.
want to
Like
do it, that's fine. But
right.
don't do it because hey, somebody said you have to be in service of your
There's some
country in
honor.
that manner.
Right.
You can say, well, I can still be in service of my country. I can be a scientist, for example. I
Right.
can be a coder, right? For me, I can be a coder.
Right.
I can figure out how to like in world, if I were in World War II, then I'll be in the Enigma project where I'm
Right.
trying to
Right.
crack the code or something like that,
Right.
or be sitting there and listens to the signal and translate. I can be in service to my country in that way too. It doesn't
Right.
have to be out in the forefront of infantry, because if I have the physique, if I'm like really physically you know big, tall, and strong, then yeah, I'll be out there, because that's that. Just like when just like the saying, uh, the big guys like to play football because they're big, or because they're good at football, or because they're good at football. That's why they like it,
Right.
right? So which is which? So that's the thing, is you have to understand what comes before the other, and you can't just say that this is the only way to fulfill this kind of mission or this kind of goal that you set for yourself. And there's a lot of ways to do it. There are lots of ways to arrive. A lot of ways to skin a cat.
Right.
For
But
lack of a better word.
here's why I think this is so important is because you may not think it, but what you do matters. Like, I mean, it matters to a lot of people in this world. It
Mm-hmm.
it may not seem like that. It may even seem like, who gives a shit what Chris and True are doing. like I don't know who gives a shit what we're doing. That's the point. Is like I somebody does. Like it's either going to be good or it's going to be bad. Like, and that's up to you to decide. And if you're doing something that like I like to think of, you made a great example of, like, when you're doing something that makes you unhappy. Let's just play a scenario out. Like, you go to work, you're unhappy all the time, then you come home, you're unhappy, your wife hates you,
Yeah.
you guys get a divorce, then your kids hate you, and you're like, well, my kids, we don't get along or whatever. And then they go on and they have, a bad relationship with their family, and then that person, kills somebody or something like that, or robs somebody, and that harms another family. And then, like, all these things happen because you, like, a stupid, like, you just never know that thin thread, right, that connects you to
Right.
just hundreds of thousands of ripple effects, downstream or upstream.
Right. A tiny changes could change a whole lineage of
It matters,
ripple effects,
right?
right?
Yeah,
Because
it
that person who got killed, right? If you worked 1 hour less, it could have changed that guy would have died
right.
or whatever. I mean, it could change the
Like,
thing because the compound effect is so exponentially powerful
right.
that the more degree it further away from the point of the decision you make.
Once the universe takes your actions and decides to do whatever it wants to do with it, like, that's out of your control, right? But like, what you can control is doing stuff that that you will be proud to put out into the world. And I mean, I don't know what it is. It's karma. I mean, it's literally the word karma, right? It's the compound effect. It's when you put
Mm-hmm.
good karma into the world, good things happen. Maybe not to yourself, maybe not to just you or the people around you, but it might, downstream impact millions of lives that add good to this world, versus
Right.
karma can go both ways, right? I mean, like, that's the whole point of it. It just, like, it just matters. Like, what you do actually matters. Like, I mean, and I know that kind of is mind blowing, because we're actually saying the opposite of, don't worry about what anybody else thinks about what you're doing, just do what matters to you. But, like, that's
Because
kind of the same
whenever
thing.
you
It's
do
saying
what
the same
matters to
thing.
you, it,
Right.
it matters to other people.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And so the point is we want to encourage you to do what matters to you because that has a better and a bigger contribution to society than you may think.
It doesn't even may think it absolutely does.
It
And
does, but you
yeah,
don't
yeah,
think it. You
right. But you
don't you
don't
don't
think,
think
yeah,
you're
exactly.
making you don't think you're making it, and you feel bad because you are taught a different way. You taught to not be selfish. You taught not
Right.
to be thinking about yourself only. You say, well, the company needs this salesperson to sell a lot of CRM
Right.
software
Right.
because the economy needs Chris cheers, right?
Right.
And so that's the thing is, does it need Chris Sears to to make the
you,
economy go round, right? That's
you,
the
you
thing is
know
so it's okay for Chris Sears to say, well, I think I like something else better. Maybe I become a writer or a tennis player or a racquetball player,
right.
a whatever, right? So that's the thing is it's okay for Chris to think for himself and to do things that fits him better than say, okay, well, uh, I guess I stay because it's actually gonna help the economy because they need people like me. Right? That
Yeah,
that's to me it's
I
a
have
wrong way
skill.
of
There,
thinking.
there's a difference between having skills and having passion, right? Like, there's a oh, actually, it was in this Think Like a Monk book. There's like four quadrants. He did his own four quadrants. It's like stuff that you have skills at but you're not passionate about, stuff that you have. I'll mess it up here, but hang on, let me pull it up.
It's okay. We can wait for the reflection when it comes.
Yeah. uh I'm sure there's like an image or something like that. There we go. It's the four quadrants, right? Can you see this?
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
so of potential. One is I have skill but I have no passion. Two is I have skill and passion. Three is I have no skill and no passion.
No
And
passion.
four is no skill but passion, right? So
Passion.
this is like I'm really passionate about pickleball, right?
Uh-huh.
But I don't
Right.
have any skill, like, so, like, for that to move up to this, like, I got to spend a lot of time on here or whatever. And that's where I should probably spend my time to see if I can grow my skill set. Like most of the time, I feel like most of our jobs are in this corner, right? And this is the shit that we're talking about.
Yes.
Like we think that we're doing, the right thing by saying, look, I have a skill to sell software, like I know what I'm doing. I know how to do it. But like I'm not passionate about it. But you're like, but like this is how I got to feed my family, like, or whatever it may be. Like, like that's not what we're saying. Like, if you it's spend your time in this section of life and it'll eventually pay off. So like the job that I just quit and the job that I'm going to be doing now is I have skills in leading people and I also have a passion for leading people, right? So like I am so excited about this particular role because I'm going to do a lot of the stuff that we talk about in every single day, and I'm going to apply my meaningful work into an environment that I don't know what the hell is going to happen. My boss is either going to be the biggest genius that's ever hired somebody that's going to come in and think completely differently and try to manage a team in a corporate environment in a way that's like they've probably never seen before, or like it's going to blow up in my face, but I don't really care because like if I can make one impact on one of my employees of helping them to be able to put first things first in their life and to understand what their values are and to start to apply that meaningful work concept, who the hell knows where that ramification goes down the stream, right? Like that may change and their entire family's ripple effect or something like that, and that may change so many other families' ripple effects off of that, of me trying to do my meaningful work versus staying in skill but not passion, right? Like I could keep doing what I'm doing, like, but I'm not going to make any impact on anybody. As a matter of fact, it'll probably be the
Well,
opposite
you will.
direction,
You will make impact. It's just not the what impact you want to make.
right. I mean, they're going to be like,
The
yeah, well,
ripple is gonna happen whether or not you intend to,
that's true.
right? But
Yeah,
the intentional ripple is going to have the impact. You say, oh, that's I'm part of that. You feel proud to say, yes, I did that. Not because okay, somebody down the line, whatever, got killed because you did something. Well,
right.
you don't want to be say, hey, that's the result of what decision I made today. So the ripple is always gonna happen, but
Right.
if you don't have passion and you have skills, right? The ripple is random. It's just whatever you do when you decide not to do, the impact will not
It's meaningless.
be the positive to you, right? It's
Right.
exactly meaningless. So you want to find the one that is meaningful. Go back to what I was saying before: is there are multiple ways to skin a cat. So there's multiple ways to achieve your objective. So there's not a single way to say, hey, this is a way that the only way to get to make a living, right? The only way to make a living is what can you do and what people are willing to pay you for, right?
Right.
There's more options. You just have to explore that a little bit.
Right. Yeah, and when you do that, the like we said, that thin thread on both ways,
And
you just have no idea, right?
catching
Like,
green lights.
right, exactly. And like, I mean, like I said, like I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna do something that's gonna be. I guarantee you, I'm about to go do something that my boss and my boss's boss and my boss's boss's boss or whoever else, that it probably has never seen before. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to be stupid because I'm trying to do what we're doing with Clubany and what we did with like the core values quest. I'm gonna do that with my employees, like and hell, they may not even know what the fuck is going on. They're gonna be like, this is crazy, this dude's nuts, like but some of them are gonna resonate with it, and some of them aren't, and that's okay. Like, I mean, I'm there to try to help them to discover what's important to them, and maybe they're
Right.
coming into it going, this is a normal business. Like, I just want to do my job and go home. Like, I have skills in this, but I don't really care, and that's fine. Like, I mean, it's
But
not
they
going to
do,
resonate.
but at the end of the day, why don't they care?
I don't know. That's the problem. Is like, if they don't care anyway, like, I don't really want to manage somebody that doesn't care, like, I mean, like,
Exactly. So that's the point is how can you do good work if you don't care? That
you
person
can't.
is in the first quadrant. They have
Right.
skills but have no passion. So
Exactly.
you know where they stand. And the thing is you going to say, well, you have skill, but you apparently you don't have the passion. So right. So you will tell that you'll be able to give that person's evidence, say, look, you be better off finding things that you like to do. You're gonna save that person from having to spend another year or 2 years or 5 years at a place that's miserable.
I mean, and that matters. Like, maybe that changes their marriage. Maybe that changes their future, career trajectories. Maybe that I don't know. Like, it's just like we don't know. All I know is I know what I want to do with my life. And I know that if I
Mm-hmm.
do that, that this will have an impact on somebody, and that impact I'll feel proud about. But I'm doing it for
Mm-hmm.
myself, but I'll feel proud of the downstream thread that connects us to
Yes, the
hundreds of
outcome
thousands of lives,
that
Yeah.
decisions has impacted.
Right. I mean, I know that I did what I was supposed to do, and that's what matters. So yeah, I mean, it was an interesting reflection, not a great book, but an interesting reflection. And
Well, it's a good
yeah,
reflection because
yeah,
you gotta give yourself permissions to think what it is that is meaningful for you, what
right,
matters to you. And so to me, as far as the lesson's concerned, right? Give yourself permissions to think for yourself, to do things that matters to you.
no matter
So a
where
lot
you're
of
at.
time people have that wall, right? You say, well, I don't want to be this jerk that only thinks for himself and is selfish, and that because that is what we've been taught or trained to think when while growing up. And
Right.
it could be, I think it's a good concept, but it's not feasible in real life because everybody has a different I guess needs and desire based on your genetic makeup. I
Right.
mean, a lot of times you don't even make you can't even make decisions in terms of like let's say you want to play football but you don't have the physics the physics, right?
Right.
The physique to do it, and you just can't do it, right? It's not possible.
It's
So
the
you say,
skill.
well,
It's
it's
the passion, but no skill. Like it's the
the passion, no
yeah,
skills, and no
yeah, right,
talent, right? I
right,
say I would like to sing, but I can't sing because I don't have the vocal cord. It doesn't
right,
matter how much you train me. I can't sing well. I'm gonna sound like a frog.
right.
And so to me, like those decisions are already made for me. I can't. There's not like I decide to say, "Hey, I want to be a singer," and I can't be a singer. I
Right.
can't decide to be Troy Aikman and be Troy Aikman, right? I can't do that.
Right. Exactly. So it's an interesting idea. It's basically another way to think of the compound effect. And to visualize it as impact on other people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important. Like, I mean, because that's really what the compound effect's about, right? It affects your life, but it also affects everybody around you, and then it affects everybody around them, and it affects everybody around them, and it affects everybody around them, and then all of a sudden there's this thread between you and you know like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, right?
Right.
Where you're like just because Kevin Bacon was living his best life and doing what was meaningful to him, he connected with all these different people, and he changed a lot of different people's lives. And we all laugh at it because we call it 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I'm Kevin Bacon, I'm going, damn, my meaningful work really had an impact. Like, I mean,
Yeah, and you should be
everybody has a
proud of
six
it.
degree. I mean, they should be proud of it. Like, you should be proud of what you did and what you put out into this world. And the someday people are saying there's 6 degrees of true, or 6 degrees of
Mm-hmm.
of Chris or whatever it may be. So
Yes, I would
yeah,
love to see that.
yeah, it'd be amazing. And but
Exactly.
awesome. Well, that's so. Question we can leave with everybody is are there any ways that you've learned that your actions have unknowingly played a role? 6 degrees, a la 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon's life. In somebody else's life that you found out later on, you're like, holy shit, like I didn't know that. Like that's crazy. Just because I don't know, I fired you, when
Mm-hmm.
you were 20, and then all of a sudden, like 30 years later, you're running a new. Actually, I heard a good example on Think Like a Monk today. The guy that started WhatsApp, he quit his job at
Mm-hmm.
some weird tech company, and he tried to apply at Twitter, and he
Facebook.
no, both. He first tried to apply at Twitter, and then they turned him down, and he went on Twitter, and he was like, can't get a job at Twitter, all right, it's okay. I mean, I appreciate him. I'll still, hang out with them. And then he tried to apply at Facebook, and same
Uh-huh.
thing. He went on Twitter and talked about how he got declined to Facebook, and then that prompted him to go make an app, and that app turned into WhatsApp, and and then he sold his Facebook someday. I mean, like that's a great example. It's like keep
Right.
do what you're supposed to do, and it'll all come back around. So
Mm-hmm.
so anyway, all right, I'm done talking.
Enough of that. Yes.
Yeah. Any final thoughts of the night?
That's it, man. You have to live what matter, do what matters to you, and that is going to have more impact than you know.
Right. I agree. So keep doing what you're doing, guys, and we'll keep doing what we're doing. And
And we'll see you next time.
yeah, we'll see you next time.
Okay. Bye.